Hey, I'm Markia.
Want to hear something scary?
Licca-chan's curse. 12-year-old Atsuko recently moved to a new neighborhood with her family. She was very lonely, and more than anything else, wanted a friend. During one stormy night, she heard a small melodic voice coming from outside that said,
"My name is Licca-chan. Please let me in. I'm so cold."
Atsuko opened the door but saw nothing at first. Confused, she finally looked down, and right below her was a doll, one unlike any other that she owned. Atsuko realized it was a Licca-chan. The dolls were famous in Japan. Similar to the American Barbie dolls, they came in a wide variety of styles. This one looked vintage and had long, silky black hair. It wore a striking yellow flower-printed kimono. It was beautiful, but the doll and its outfit were soaked from laying on the ground. Atsuko looked around for the doll's owner, but after seeing no one, she picked it up and brought it inside. Atsuko placed it on the kitchen table and went to grab a towel so she could clean it up. When she returned, she found the doll sitting there, looking straight at her, with its arm pointing her way. Atsuko could have sworn she did not leave it like that. But out of the excitement for her new toy, she laughed it off. She dried the doll off and dressed up its hair until finally it was as good as new. She played with the Licca-chan doll for hours and finally held it close and swore, "We'll be best friends forever. No one will ever get between us." Now Atsuko was no longer lonely. And once she started up at her new school, she found she even had the confidence to make new friends. She decided to invite her two closest friends, Mizuki and Kyoko, over one day after school. When Mizuki spotted Atsuko's doll, she sneered and mocked Atsuko for still playing with dollies. She informed Atsuko that they were practically teenagers and only babies had dolls. Embarrassed, Atsuko shoved the doll into the trash bin and claimed it wasn't important. Kyoko was alarmed at this and warned both girls not to throw away Licca-chan dolls because they were known to be cursed. Kyoko explained that her grandmother told her stories about dolls that were thrown away, seeking revenge against those that disrespected them, even going so far as killing those foolish enough to disregard the curse. Atsuko started to remove the doll from the trash, but Mizuki laughed at them both for being superstitious. "Only babies believe in stories like that," she teased. Atsuko looked at the doll. It almost looked like it was peering out of the bin back at her. Even though its beautiful features hadn't changed, it looked different now. It looked angry. Mizuki walked over to the bin and used her foot to push the doll all the way down. Out of sight, out of mind. Atsuko soon forgot about it, and her friends went on to have a fun day together. After they left, she felt uneasy about what had happened to the doll, but decided it was time she grew up. So, she left it in the trash. At school the next day, Mizuki never showed up, and Atsuko was immediately worried. Later that day, everyone learned that Mizuki had tragically died. There were rumors all around school that she had actually been murdered, and that when she was found, she had small puncture marks all over her neck. Atsuko knew deep inside that this was all her fault and ran home as fast as she could. She ran into her room and looked inside the trash bin, but the Licca-chan doll was gone. Was the curse real after all? It couldn't be. When her parents arrived home, they found Atsuko in tears in her room. She explained to them what happened, and they comforted her as best they could and also reminded her it was trash day. The doll was long gone. They promised to buy her another and put her to bed for the night. Slowly, the doll and the horrible tragedy left her mind, and she drifted to sleep. Suddenly, a familiar voice jolted her awake.
"My name is Licca-chan, And you are a liar.
Atsuko looked around her dark room, but the doll was nowhere to be found. Just as she thought her mind was playing tricks on her, the same voice cried,
You said we'd be best friends forever.
Something scuttled across the floor in the dark, and Atsuko stood upright on her bed. Grabbing the flashlight under her pillow, she braced herself in the corner, jerkily scanning the floor surrounding her bed. Breath gasping, light swinging back and forth, but nothing was there. Then the silence was broken by a tinkling giggle, and the cursed doll spoke once again.
You treated me like trash.
This time, the voice came from above, and just as Atsuko looked up, shining the light above, the doll dropped from the ceiling, clutching onto her face. Atsuko tried to scream, but the sharp plastic hands of Licca-chan stabbed deep into her neck, over and over again. Atsuko tried to beat the murderous doll off of her while she attempted to stop the bleeding from her many wounds with the other, but it was all too much. Atsuko's vision dimmed, and at last she saw nothing except death. The next morning, at a house a few streets over, a very lonely girl heard a small melodic voice coming from outside her home. And like always, the cursed Licca-chan doll found a new best friend.